also like to make a little bit comments about the project that essentially each of you will do either individually or as a team. So if you take a look at our, I think it's the tentative schedule. So we'll have a project proposal, and then we'll also have a methodology draft, and then the final draft before we have the final session of class as a poster session to present your project. So this is the timeline pretty much after the break. So you will see that after the break, we'll shift to doing more applications such as Bayesian linear regressions and all that. So you get to know how Bayesian methods that we have covered can be applied in real settings. So if you choose to do a project that is of a applied focus, then that will, I think what we're going to cover after the break will be very essential. But of course, so if you take a look, so on Moodle at the bottom, we have a section on project. Okay, so I posted 2 documents a while ago. Maybe some of you actually emailed me about those requirements and all that. So I think it's a good time to talk about the general expectation and what you should be doing and planning to do, especially we're pretty much halfway through the semester. So the final presentation, or I should say the poster, so you can use slides to create your material. We will just have you print it out and then tape on the wall to talk about the results. So you should, of course, first of all, talk about the research questions of your interest, okay, why it is an important topic itself, and then the methods that you use to obtain and analyze the data. So for us, analyzing the data, if you are doing applied project, then you should be using Bayesian methods, okay, to analyze the data. It depends on which ones you want to use. But we will have a proposal that will give you the chance to show me or make plans of how to get the methods right as well as the data right. And then in your poster or slides, you should also have the results of the analysis and a final discussion about the results themselves. There are some general criteria for projects if you're doing data analysis. So I put it over here for you to read a little bit more. And one thing I would say is, in addition to doing applied project, so if you take a look at the other document, you can do a new Bayesian methodology or theoretical finding, or you can do a Bayesian research paper or a book chapter that you have come across that you like to read. So for example, I will post a few possible papers if you want to read about and then use that as your focus. But I also highly recommend you to search by yourself of interesting topic that you find that might be relevant to your own interest and all that. And then you can find a paper or 2 to read and then also present it. And then maybe some of the papers, just like the explaining GIF sampler that we did in class, they involve certain applications or like simulation studies. So that will be some extension that you can do. Or if you're reading a very theoretical paper, then if you want to do a little bit methodology or theoretical extension, and then that will have a different focus. Okay, so it is pretty open-ended, like the 3 different options, I'm totally leaving it up to you. Of how you want to do it. So this is the proposal. It's just 1 page of what you want to do, what kind of, if you're doing applied if you're doing applied work, what kind of data you're going to use, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is due 1 page. After we come back from the break, it's that Wednesday at 5 p.m. on Moodle. So I'll create a submission, or maybe I would just, do email submission in that case. And of course, you can do it by yourself for the entire project, or you can work in teams of 2. Okay, so if you're working in teams of 2, then just submit 1 proposal for both of you, and that will be sufficient. Okay, and so far throughout, we're trying to let people work on labs together, even across different institutions. So if you want to do the projects also in teams, with another student from a different institution, that is highly encouraged as well. Okay, so totally up to you. So definitely let me know. Like I said, I will post a few papers that I think may be interesting to some of you on Moodle after class, and so you can choose any of them if you want to do a the C option. But you can also, of course, find the papers yourself and do something like that. And if you remember in the very first lecture, I show you some examples from previous years about students' projects. So Some of them are pretty applied in nature. Some of them are more methodological or theoretical, and some of them really like presenting a paper that they read and then trying to do some kind of analysis of what's included in that paper. So all are welcome, and you can take a look. So if you go back, I think, to the first set of slides that I posted, there is a link to the previous projects that people have done in the past. Okay, so that will be, if you want to see some examples, that will be a good place to go. Okay. Okay, yeah, so that's the plan. Like I said, we'll have a proposal due, and then I will give feedback. And then just to help us to make sure that every team is on the same page, we will have a methodology draft, just I guess 5 to 10 pages or slides, you know, of your final poster, just to show what are the methodologies that you're using, so you can work out the details. And then we have a due for the final draft before we have the final class on April the 29th as the poster session. So that's the general timeline. And yeah, any questions about the project, expectations, or where to find data sets and stuff like that? You can, of course, use other data set that have come across in the past. For example, some people like to do some kind of a statistical analysis that they did before, but not from a Bayesian point of view. And now what we have learned in this course probably will expand your toolkits and all that. So if you want to do a comparison, that is something very highly encouraged as well. So again, pretty open-ended. And from the proposal, I think I will get a sense of how feasible your project is. I can give feedback and all that. So just to help guide every team on track. Okay. Okay. All right. So again, any questions you have, just let me know. And with that, let's do